Hello, my friend Katie Weber. It is great to see you here.
It's so
Welcome,
good to see you.
welcome to our podcast, our Target 100 webinar. So glad you could join us. For those of you guys tuning in who are fans of Katie's and don't know who these Target 100 people are, I am Liz Josefsberg. I am a weight loss and wellness expert. Over 20 years in the industry, I wrote a book called Target 100 that talks about holistic wellness and weight loss in 6 pillars. So we talk nutrition, hydration, movement, stress, sleep, and exercise. And we really work hard to work and balance those 6 pillars. So having Katie Weber here with me today, who is a longtime dear friend of me and my husband, David, who most of you guys know if you've been following me, Broadway actor. Katie and David have worked together for, gosh, 20 years probably.
Yeah, long time.
Uh, so Katie is a Broadway actress, a also certified holistic nutritionist, and a mom,
Yep.
which is also another very important piece. I am a mom as well, and I thought I'd start with a funny story when I said this afternoon to Cooper, my son, who's now 18, going away to college in a month. He
Wow.
said, I said, "Oh, we're having a webinar with Katie Weber tonight," and he said, "Harp Girl?"
Yeah. Oh no.
So my son remembers from all the way back, Katie and David
Yeah.
did a show together called Honeymoon in Vegas. And Katie was the woman who played a harp. And she's
Yes.
quite a beautiful woman, as you can tell. My son remembers her to this day.
I love it. I'm honored.
Yes. So burned in his memory, because how many years ago was that? That would have to have been about 8 years ago, right?
At least, yeah, 8 years ago, I think so. On
So
the dot. Yep.
yeah, but he remembers.
Wild.
He remembers
Oh,
you.
that's so sweet. I can't believe he's 18. That's like insane.
Isn't that wild?
Woo. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to have you here today and just have a conversation. So, you are a certified holistic nutritionist, you
Hmm.
are a vegan, and you have written now several cookbooks.
I have.
Yes, and I have one here. We're going to be talking about a couple. You even have a new one out today. We will put them up in the chat, and we'll make sure that everybody gets the information about where to find them.
Thank you.
But I just thought it would be interesting to hear your story, because
Hmm.
how do you go, you know, into this as a Broadway actress and dancer and singer, into, kind of creating this whole other business for yourself, this whole other side
Yeah.
hustle, if you will. Tell us your.
Yeah. Well, amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I grew up here. I'm actually at my parents' house where I grew up in California, because we have some time off right now. But I grew up in dance. I started when I was 3 years old. I was very focused and driven as a dancer. And of course, being a dancer means that you're in the mirror, you know, anytime you're in the studio. And it's, kind of built into the business, at least, when I was younger. There's just so much emphasis put on your body, the way your body looks, your body shape, and as a dancer, a quote unquote dancer's body. And I I've always had muscles, and I've always never been like a string bean kind of, had that ballet body. That wasn't really me. I had larger breasts and, big quads and all these things. Um, and with that came kind of some, just unhealthy patterns with how I looked at myself in the mirror. And how we can be as teenage girls, and of course when we become women and the like. So I struggled with disordered eating patterns. I wouldn't say that I was hardcore this or hardcore that, but it was on my mind constantly about what I looked like, about what I was eating. And I had a binging and withholding kind of pattern where I would use food as a reward, a comfort, all these emotional crutches. And then I would go, oh gosh, I feel terrible. My gut was a hot mess. I had insane acne up until I was like mid 30s. Um, and so then I would just kind of go, okay, well, I need to pull it back. So for the next few days, I'll hardly eat anything. I'm just going to go, I'll kind of go as long as I can without eating. When I need a handful of cashews, I'll have a handful of cashews. And that would kind of work for me until I realized that that was a really stressful and unhealthy cycle to be on. And at this point, this is carrying on into well into my 30s, well into performing on Broadway, into my career. I've been very lucky and had a very steady career on Broadway. Um, and the older we get, the more your body starts to kind of wave these flags for you, and kind of, these blinking lights are going off, like this isn't working. And and it wasn't really, well, I started kind of getting inspired, honestly, by people on Instagram or things like that, kind of in my earlier 30s, to look into plant-based eating. And it wasn't until I was pregnant, I had my baby when I was 35. She's 6 now, 6.5. But it wasn't until I was pregnant that I started thinking, I really need, once this baby comes out of me, I really need to, take a long, hard look and examine these patterns that I've laid out for myself and how they're not working for me. And I don't want to model this for my daughter at all. And so after I had her, I went hardcore vegan. And it was really, honestly, I was very much stuck to being a vegan for 1.5 years or so. And it did amazing things for me. It was like, it just, my anxiety lessened, my sleep got better, my, my joints hurt less. And ultimately I found myself in the body that I had always wanted in the mirror. And so I just kind of, it felt like a very beautiful mind, body, soul connection, everything working in harmony. But I do love food. And I also found that sometimes being a vegan would kind of ignite my hard grasp on, judging myself. Well, I really want a bite of ice cream, or I had a bite of ice cream and I can't tell anybody. And then I would feel guilty. And so then I realized I might want to loosen that a little bit. And I just I consider myself plant forward. I eat, 90 to 95% vegan until my body is like, girl, go get a burger today. And then I go get a high quality burger. But anyway, to kind of circle back, I got really excited by the way I was eating, and I love to cook. So then I started developing recipes, kind of making my favorite dishes that maybe weren't vegan. I started to, make them into vegan dishes. And then the pandemic happened and Broadway shut down. And I, for the first time in a long time, had a lot of time on my hands. And I put out some plant-based, plant forward, I like to call them, cookbooks. And those have been speaking to people, which I love, whether you're vegan or not. People have been liking my recipes because I go for simple, very few ingredients, very simple food, easy to make, accessible, and of course, delicious and healthy.
I love it. Oh, thank you for that story. And it's just so interesting to me to just kind of like step in and say, like, your story is such a story of the majority of the people in my program, which is like this, we call it sort of diet mentality, which gets embedded at a certain point in your life. For most of us who were always trying to lose weight, it was the same thing where we were given these strict set of rules to follow. We would follow them for a period of time until we couldn't do it anymore. We'd feel guilt and shame over that. So then we would restrict after that very heavily. So it led to this, whether you want to call it a cycle or binging or whatever it was just this accordion for those of us who, and then didn't have the same active lifestyle that you did. We just gained a lot of weight, But the mentality and what you're expressing feels like so home-like to a lot of the conversations we have, which is learning how to, honestly, to learn how to put down the restriction and the blowing it up and coming back, and the guilt and the shame and the in and the out and the on and the off. Instead, finding joy in all of the things that we do. I mean, that's really our goal here. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So it's exciting to hear that our stories are so similar, even though in such different places in life, that we can relate to one another so easily. And again, you coming towards this to feel your best and to look your best and to have the kind of lifestyle that you wanted to model for your child
Mm-hmm.
is, when we connect to why we do what we do, it becomes very exciting to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And having the time in COVID, I watched so many of our friends start these amazing businesses during
Yeah.
COVID, because and creative people like you had creative ideas and then brought them to life. David told me you self-published your cookbooks.
I did. I did every single thing with my cookbooks. I literally Googled how to publish a cookbook, and I just started. I did, I created all of the recipes. I cooked all the meals. I would style the food. I took all the photos in my house, on my kitchen table with natural light, because I don't have any equipment. And honestly, like people are like, these photos are gorgeous. Um, so
Incredible.
I, yeah, thank you. So yeah,
Just
yeah,
beautiful, beautiful
lentil
stuff.
stew for two.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, so and my husband helped me a lot too, but it was just everything was a labor of love, and it really was like a beautiful creative outlet for me to take this creative energy that I wasn't getting to put out um on stage, and I could put it out in my book. And it was also, I think, what I really got out of it that I wasn't expecting to this level was the connection with the people, and connecting, being in someone's kitchen is just, the highest honor for me. So, having my cookbook in someone's kitchen, or people, I love the 6-minute beans, or whatever recipe is speaking to them. Or, one of my favorite things is when people say, I love this recipe, but I made it my own by adding this, and that's what I want to do, is empower people to, just reach for vegetables. Thank you. Okay, thank you, my daughter.
She's
I
welcome to join.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure she will. But yeah, I just want to empower people to feel confident in the kitchen. It doesn't have to be difficult. And a lot of healthy food, I feel, is like, soak the cashews for 24 hours. And I'm like, I can't be doing
Hello.
that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
can't have a multi-step thing. So anyway, just the connection with people, and seeing how it was changing people's lives was just so meaningful to me.
Oh, I love it. And so talk to me a little bit about, some of your favorite recipes and how you what did I tell you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Gonna bark. Please. They're gonna give me a bark or two here. Uh,
Yeah.
but some of the things that are really inspiring for you in the summer just are
Yeah.
some
Well,
like these dogs out too.
I know. Right? I, I love eating seasonally. So that really inspires me. I'm always, I love the seasons. Of course, the summer I'm partial to, because there are so many wonderful ingredients. And I think if you can kind of get on that path of always reaching for things that are in season, if you have a farmer's market available to you to see what they have, everything that they have will be in season. So to me, yesterday a friend of mine made a homemade sourdough loaf, and she has a daughter who's gluten intolerant. So it was a gluten-free sourdough loaf. And I had these gorgeous tomatoes, and I just simply toasted some bread and did some olive oil and rubbed some garlic and sliced my tomatoes and a little sea salt. And it kind of feels so, you're like, oh, I'm so Italian right now. It feels like, you're al fresco, you're living the good life, but it's really just like the simplest of dishes.
So
So,
simple.
anything with tomatoes. I also have a simple kind of pomodoro tomato sauce that I love. That's on my Instagram. It's also in my Somerset cookbook.
Right.
I will always love, eating a salad almost every day. For me, it just makes me happy. And whether that is a loaded, I have one called the deli salad, where it's like hearts of palm and chickpeas and olives and, salty and every time you get a bite, it's like you're finding little gems in there.
Yeah.
And I also love like a simple salad with with just radishes and chives or something like
Mm,
that.
mm.
So I love those. I love I just created a new recipe called sweet potato nachos that is so delicious and fun to make and easy to make and gives you just that whole flavor profile, but it's like nothing but vegetables,
Yeah.
which just blows my mind sometimes. I'm like, this is nothing but vegetables. And,
Good stuff.
and there's beans and there's protein and all the good stuff. So I love that one too.
Well,
But
that was going to be a question for me because you are a
yeah,
dancer and you are a strong and athletic
yeah.
person. How do
Hmm.
you get enough protein as a vegetarian? I know my membership is always wondering, like, how do I amp that up?
Yeah, I have somewhat of a controversial view on protein. I definitely I trust that if I'm eating a wide variety of foods and not only eating kale salad every single day, which kale does have some protein in it, but I really try to eat a wide variety of foods. I do eat a lot of beans. I happen to love beans. They make me so happy. They are my comfort. They are quick. They're cheap. You can get organic, good quality organic beans, cheap, fast. You don't even necessarily have to cook them. You can just rinse them out of the can and eat them, cold. So I do eat a lot of beans. And like I said, sometimes I'll be like, man, I really listen to my body. Sometimes I'll be like, I want chicken on this today. And I don't cook meat at home, but sometimes, in New York City where we
Yeah.
are, you can get great, takeout healthy salad, and I'll add some good chicken to that. Or sometimes my body says I need a burger and I go find a good quality burger and just take note of how I feel after,
Mhm.
if that was a good choice for me, if that was maybe a more impulsive choice for me. But I really feel like by eating a wide variety of foods and all my beans and all that, I've never struggled with my protein.
That's great. That's great. I
Yeah.
mean, again, like you're speaking our language of like everything we do at Target 100 is help you find out what works for you. And like I have the controversial view of like there is no program. There's
Right.
only yours, like only what you discover about you. And every tool we create here, every worksheet, every webinar we do is to get a viewpoint, but not to have it be a mandate, but instead
Hmm.
go, okay, well, I heard that of Katie, and I don't need as much protein, and let me see
Hmm.
how I feel, and
Yeah.
talk about how you feel and how you're thinking about how you feel after a meal. I think is a really important thing for people who are trying to get away from diet mentality and get into like kind of really nourishing themselves is to really just take like an alarm on your phone and set it for 20 minutes after you finish eating and do a
Hmm.
body scan. Honestly, I
Yeah.
just do a body scan and you'll start to find out so easily just how that food is serving you,
Hmm.
and
I find it to be somewhat of a interesting and tricky balance because we want to know the answers. We want to know the formula. And so many people claim to have the formula. Well, this is what works. You do this, you do the keto, everything has a title, you become a vegan or whatever. And I think it is so important that we become agents over our own body. And in all honesty, it takes more work. It does.
does. Yes, it does.
Especially on the front end of, entering on your journey of health and wellness. You really have to be present with yourself, and you really have to try things, and you might need to eliminate some things at first, and it might feel like a little bit of a thinking game at
Yes.
first. But once you kind of get there and you really start to make those habits for yourself, and you know what is best for you truly, then it just becomes ingrained in the fiber of your everyday life, and it really does become easier and easier. I will say it's always a work in progress, and we're always evolving, but I just think it's so important that we all have to take agency over our own bodies and what is best for us.
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, that's what we're all about, is like, how do we figure this out for ourselves? And you're saying so many of the things that, we have a few words that we rely on, and that's curiosity,
Hmm.
right? Curiosity, being curious, being willing to experiment. We call this a science experiment. It never ends,
Yeah.
right? You're constantly trying new things and being willing to change,
Hmm.
willing to question your old beliefs and thought patterns. And I think where you and I came from, mine was different in that I was put into diet centers at a very young age. So that gave me the same sort of body dysmorphia, a little bit of
Hmm.
in and out with the patterns and the restricting and all the rest of it. Is I created a belief system that there was this group of people who had an answer and that I didn't, and I couldn't trust myself. And
Hmm.
I had to look outside of myself and have someone else tell me what to do because I wasn't able. And
Hmm.
I'm trying to break that down. And so I love what you're doing, is like making vegetables and cooking and the thought around vegetables so simple. I have so many people say to me that they're very afraid of vegetables, and they get bored because they do the same thing over and over. That's why I
Right.
love your books, guys. We live on so many of your recipes: the white beans,
Yeah.
the carrots with the cumin, the roasted carrots. I
Yeah.
make them in the winter. We'll make them at least once a week. Like, we have so many of your recipes that we just go back to again and again and again. So I think, like, I want to make sure that we put in the chat, the names of all three of your cookbooks and where to get all of this, so they can find you. We will make sure that we get that in there.
Thank
But
you.
I want to, if you could give someone like three quick tips about, keeping variety or making things really easy. Is there one way to prepare a vegetable that always works?
Yeah. Roast it
Just
with
roast it.
hands down. Roasting is like, roasting is 99% of the time I'm going to say roast it,
Okay.
because roasting is easy. It's like, I have kind of a baseline. It's like oven at 425,
Yep.
parchment paper, whatever you're roasting, olive oil, salt and pepper. Obviously you can add anything, any kind of seasoned spices you want, but I tend to stick very simply almost all the time with olive oil, salt and pepper. And it just, everything becomes better when it's roasted. I feel the flavor is just unmatched. One of my favorite things to roast is cabbage, which I think a lot of people probably don't even think to roast cabbage. It is so delicious, gets a little bit crispy, a little charred. Roasting chickpeas is incredible. I mean, we are constantly, for my daughter, she's 6 years old, and she just like, I can't make enough roasted broccoli or roasted cauliflower for her. It's just like, she just inhales it. Roasted potatoes. Um, so yeah, I would just,
Okay. Love
when
that.
in doubt,
When in doubt,
roast.
just roast it. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what it is. I mean, I'm laughing because we were up in Vermont, we'd go with these like 40 people every year to this cabin, and we have to cook dinners together. And it's amazing, like communal, amazing experience. And we roasted broccoli, and we just couldn't keep it on the table. People
Yeah.
were eating it so fast. And we
Yeah.
made a baked potato bar, and, and we roasted tomatoes. We had so
Roasted tomatoes are so good. So
right?
good.
No, it's like, doesn't matter what it is. I love that you said
Yeah.
cabbage. David is addicted to cabbage on every
Yeah.
level,
Yeah.
right? So, and I just love that. Okay, so when in doubt, roast it.
When
420.
in doubt, roast it.
Are you a parchment
I
gal?
I yes, I believe in parchment. Ideally, you're getting unbleached parchment, so not the white parchment. You want the brown parchment.
Brown parchment.
And ideally, you're not roasting on foil. I was roasting on foil for a long time, but that
Yeah.
kind of can leak, the metals into your food. So ideally, you're not roasting on foil. But I love the parchment and I love roasting because you put it in the oven, you set a timer, you walk away, you do your life. When the timer goes off, you flip it around, whatever. And then you just pick the parchment up, dump your veggies into a bowl, throw it out, and
Yeah.
give your pan a wipe down, and you're clean.
Yeah. I love it.
And another tip that I love and I have is, I get this question a lot of how do I incorporate more vegetables into my life when I'm uninspired, I don't like veggies, whatever.
Don't cook.
Exactly. I always say add. So before you take anything away out of your diet, just add something in. So I love bagged arugula, kale, spinach, whatever it is. Arugula would be my go-to, but keep a bag or a box of ready to rock and roll arugula or greens in your fridge. And whatever it is that you're eating, even if you're eating vegetables, but if you're having pasta that night or you're having a piece of pizza, grab a handful of that arugula and throw it on the top. And that's just going to add so many greens, so many nutrients, so much fiber. And it really does train your brain and your gut to want it more. So I always say, before you take a bite, add a handful of greens to whatever it is that you're eating.
I love that. I was sort of showing you my rudimentary little drawing here of like, I'm
Yeah.
always teaching people like trying to do at least half of your plate as vegetables.
Yeah.
Then you have a small area of protein, you've got some carb, and then you've got a little bit of healthy fats here as well. And it's not going to fit in this, but if you think about over half of your plate being vegetables, I love this idea of just grabbing something.
Yeah.
Vegetables are high in fiber, high in water, right? People don't quite understand that as that fiber gets to your gut, it holds it. It sort of looks like a net under a microscope. It actually it holds everything in your belly. It keeps you full much, much longer, and it slows the absorption of nutrients into your system. So you really do get this great bang for your buck. So I love this. I want to make sure I'm starting to put stuff in the chat about where they can find you. I want to make sure I'm saying this out loud, guys. This is not a one-way conversation. If you have a question for me or for Katie, put it in the chat. We will answer it. So don't be shy. I forgot to say that up top, but and then
I love questions.
I want to talk about the fall for you, and then is it Somerset is the other?
Yep. So Somerset. So Fall for You is my first cookbook. It is fall based, it's fall ingredients, seasonal fall ingredients. So there's lots of soups, there's lots of, there's salads, lots of stews, lentils, beans. There's also clean, healthy cocktails that don't have added sugar in them for those that like to enjoy a cocktail. So, everything is very simple. There's also, some great granola in there. Homemade granola I love. It's so easy to do. And I also love smoothies. So there's smoothies in there. There's also some desserts, and people love what's in there that people love, the lemon olive oil cake. And everything is, vegan and has the capacity to be gluten-free if you need it to be. So and then Somerset was my second one. That is summer inspired seasonally. So lots of tomatoes in there, lots of vibrant salads, and yummy, easy pastas and things like that. And then my latest one, I have it right here. I just got it in the mail.
You just did this, right?
I just did this. This is Reset Refresh.
Did I get that?
Oh, Reset, Refresh. You did it perfectly. But this is, so there's a section called Reset at first, and this is a recipe called cereal natural that people love. You'll never want to eat cereal out of a box ever. Mint chocolate chip smoothie. And the first one the Reset portion of recipes is meant to be a cleanse you can follow. There's a meal plan in here. You can, of course, reach for recipes whenever you want here and there, but if you wanted to, because I love the idea of a cleanse while eating in abundance, as opposed to cleansing while starving yourself. So this is meant to keep you super full and happy. And, I have gotten such amazing feedback from the Reset, and people who just, couldn't figure out their eczema, or couldn't figure out their acne, or couldn't figure out their anxiety, or couldn't lose, I have people that do the Reset for 10 days and really, drop some excess weight that was really stubborn and they couldn't get rid of. And a lot of people like to continue kind of eating this way. And then we go into the Refresh portion, which incorporates some grains, because Reset is grain-free, nut-free, kind of more of an elimination, vegan and gluten-free. And Refresh has some grains, overnight chia oats, which is a good one. This is another granola that's delicious, and some great salads in here. Some tofu egg salad. So yeah, some fun recipes in here too. So
Amazing.
yeah,
Amazing. Oh, how exciting. Well, and they
yeah,
find this all on your website, katieweber.com.
yeah. KatieWeberNYC.com.
Katie Weber,
Um,
NYC.
yeah. And it's Weber with 2 B's. I see it in there. I can
Gotcha.
write it if you want. And also my books are all available on Amazon, which is great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I cannot recommend them highly enough. And we do have a question. I just want, a favorite olive oil that you would recommend for either salads or for roasting.
Well, I live in New York City. I'm so busy. I am a mom. I tend to just buy I'm not really picky as long as it's organic.
Yeah.
So if I buy Whole Foods organic, Trader Joe's organic, we also are very lucky. We live in Queens, so there's a huge Greek community. So, and we actually kind of, we'll try different olive oils out all the time. But for me, it just needs to be organic and I'm happy.
Oh, this is one
Oh, that's so chic.
It's so amazing. Greek.
Yeah.
After going to Greece last summer, I was ruined for the rest of my life, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking for Greek
Yeah.
olive oils now. So
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, for a salad, you can get super fancy, but if you have an organic, I go more at the fancy. Personally, I do more of the fancy vinegars.
Yes. Yeah.
I enjoy, like I've got a whole host of vinegar back here as well that I use that I love,
Yes.
to go with that great olive oil. The Olivers and Company, I love the organic.
Yeah.
And then there's this beautiful Italian organic apple cider vinegar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That looks nice.
That can take that simple salad or
Yeah.
some roasted vegetables just up a notch.
Yes. Yeah. I've also been really getting into rice vinegar, which is kind of, I wasn't really, I just didn't have it on hand, but I wanted to create some kind of Asian inspired dressings and stuff for this latest book. And rice vinegar is so lovely and smooth. And it doesn't kind of make you,
doesn't have that thing.
No, but it is so flavorful and wonderful. I really like a rice vinegar too.
So that is going to be my experiment. That'll be my curiosity. Now I'm all curious about rice vinegar and giving
You're going to love it. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, good. Well, guys, don't be shy. See, we're answering your questions live. Come on, jump on in. I put out a bunch of little things here because I thought it would be fun just to give you like a fire round of like, what would you do with this? And it's so funny though, you've mentioned a lot of them, but I just want to see from your creative brain, what would happen if you came home and you had a ton of zucchini on hand?
Oh, I would do my favorite recipe, which is Lazy Girl Zucchini, which is one of my kind of OG recipes. Yeah. So there is a Lazy Girl recipe in Reset Refresh. It's Lazy Girl Crispy Baked Tacos. But yeah, that's a good one. But I love a Lazy Girl recipe. I kind of coined this term it's basically this Lazy Girl zucchini. It's like a breaded zucchini, but there's no bread involved. And you just do it in a pan real quick. You slice zucchini kind of thick, maybe half an inch thick, so it doesn't get super mushy. Put it in the pan with some olive oil and some garlic. And then I sprinkle in some ground flax, some almond flour, and some nutritional yeast. And it kind of gets crispy like breadcrumbs and it sticks to the zucchini. And then you flip it and it feels like you're eating breaded zucchini, and it is so good. I would hands down make Lazy Girl zucchini.
Okay, Lazy Girl zucchini, awesome. Yeah. Okay, you come home and you have a bunch of portobello mushrooms.
Ooh, my new favorite thing to do with portobellos is to roast them. So you're going to scrape out the gills. You're going to roast them at 425 for about 15 minutes. They'll get a little watery. You can kind of dump the water out, put them back in for 5 minutes, and they become the perfect consistency for a portobello burger. So you're just going to, make it a burger however you want, whatever the fixings you want. I'm going to show you really quick if I can find it. I did one in here and it was my first time having a portobello burger, and it is just
look at that.
So good.
Oh, yummy.
So good, meaty, but
yeah.
I'm a mushroom girl. So, I mean, I could find a million things to do with portobellos.
I love it. And I will say
Yeah.
David does an incredible, so he does what you do. He scrapes it out, he roasts it.
Yeah.
Then in that last 5 minutes, he puts pizza sauce,
Oh
and
yeah.
then some great fresh mozzarella and basil in there,
Hmm.
and it's like a little pizza cup.
Oh
It's the
yeah.
most delicious thing ever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a really fun one too. So
Yeah. Sounds
yay.
amazing.
I love it. Yeah, I can't even slow you down. So Dave told me I needed to ask you about hearts of palm because he's like, I
Oh,
remember she used to snack on them all the time.
so, it's funny. My mom, when I was little, my mom was always like, if there was a salad bar, she'd like, get me some hearts of palm. And I'm like, "Ugh, what are these weird white
You're white.
round things? Like, no. And I wouldn't, and I just was so turned off by them just by looking at them. And then when I was pregnant, but before I knew that I was pregnant, I was in the grocery store and I was looking at something and I was like, I'm going to get some hearts of palm for some reason. I mean, I was craving hearts of palm. It was like a pregnancy craving. And I would eat like a can of them for breakfast. And then I found out I was pregnant. I was like, okay. Um, but that kind of ignited my love affair with hearts of palm. And they're similar to, an artichoke heart, but they're a little more tender, but they kind of, you know, they're creamy and so delicious. I am obsessed with them. And my husband and I just always have them on hand and we add them to salads, slice them up. I have before actually breaded them. I took a whole one. I dipped it in like a Dijon mustard and then I coated it in breadcrumbs and I baked them. And then you can slice them and it feels a little like a calamari or something. Um, I also have, is it in Somerset, Hearts of Palm ceviche, which
Oh,
is so good.
that's
So good.
delicious. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
And a handful of ingredients, and it's such a delicious thing. You can eat it, with a fork, or you can eat it with chips or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
so good. We love Hearts of Palm.
Some hearts of palm pasta, which
You know what? I have yet to try it.
it is very good.
I hear this. I've heard that it's amazing.
Yeah, if you see it, around, get it. Especially good with like shrimp and red
Yeah.
sauce and things like that.
Yes.
Tasty.
Hmm.
I do see a lot. You have in the Somerset. I was flipping through it, and there's quite a few good pasta recipes.
Yeah.
Do you use a gluten-free or chickpea pasta, or you like regular pasta? What's your
I like, it depends. I do love some chickpea pastas. I do love, Trader Joe's has some great gluten-free pastas. I really like their brown rice quinoa fusilli that Trader Joe's has. There's a recipe in this new book it's called Stroganoff. It's like a, kind of a spin on a beef
Yeah.
stroganoff, but it's just with mushrooms. And I use that Trader Joe's fusilli gluten-free for that. I also, I do love zucchini noodles. I love using spaghetti squash.
Mm.
And my latest kind of, faux noodle that I love to use is carrot noodles.
Oh, yeah.
Um, you just take a vegetable peeler and just peel, all the
Yeah.
way down, just make peels of them. And they hold up so much better than a zucchini noodle. They don't
Yes, you don't get
completely
all
fall
watery.
apart. They kind of bite back a little bit.
Yeah.
And they're, slightly sweet. So I love a carrot noodle too. I have some recipes for that in this latest book. I also have it on my Instagram.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
And your Instagram is the same, Katie Weber NYC.
Katie Weber NYC. Yes.
And it's two B's, WEBBER
Yeah.
NYC.com, and
Yep.
Katie Weber on NYC on Instagram and all around. And your videos are amazing, and just
Thank
following
you.
them is so much fun. I do love that you're talking about all these different noodles, because I always say, like, a lot of times when people have been doing weight loss, they get into things, and they think like, oh, this is the magic bullet, right? Like, oh, if
Mhm.
I just eat quinoa pasta now, it's not really like I'm eating pasta. But then they eat it and they go, but it doesn't taste like pasta. So they're
Mhm.
unhappy with it, which makes them not satisfied by the meal, which makes
Yeah.
them overeat on something later on because they
Right.
really were looking for something. I like that you're talking about all these different options now. And I just always like to say to people, like, let it be what it is rather
Mhm.
than trying to look for it to be, you know, a penne noodle from Barilla
Right.
or something.
Right.
Let it be different. Let it flavor the dish differently. Let it be
Yes.
a different, and don't try to make it into pasta.
Right. And there are times like I love pasta. I'm very inspired to do pasta recipes often. However, I would be lying if I said I sit down to a pasta dinner every single night. That is not what makes me personally feel my best. So if there are times when I want, straight up gluten-filled spaghetti, real quote unquote real spaghetti or something, I'm number one going to make sure it's high quality, organic ingredients if I can find that. And then I'm probably that meal, I'm not going to be eating as much of it as I would if it were carrot noodles, where that's going to be something different, where I'm like, I really need a big bowl, a huge bowl of something.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to go for the zucchini noodle, the carrot noodle, the spaghetti squash. But if I'm wanting a specific taste of that real spaghetti with the pomodoro sauce, then I'm going to give myself a smaller portion and grab that big handful of arugula
There you
and,
go.
dump it on there and take my time and enjoy.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, so if you had a big bunch of bananas, what would you do?
Oh, well, I would freeze them.
Okay.
So I always have a stock of frozen bananas in my freezer. It is like number one game
How
changer
do
for
you freeze
smoothies.
them? How do
So
you
what I do is I wait for them to get some brown spots. You don't want them to be greenish yellow when you freeze them. You want them to have a little bit of brown in there. Not like banana bread status, but
Right, right.
just a few spots happening, nice and yellow. I will peel them. I'll keep them whole, and I put them in a large Ziploc bag. I don't love using plastic bags all the time, but I have the same bag in the freezer that's been in there for a while. So I just put them whole in there, and then when I go to use them for smoothies in the morning, I'll just kind of break it up. They break apart easy enough. You can, I almost find it's harder to, if you break them up ahead of time, to then separate what you
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
So I keep them whole, just peeled into an airtight container into the freezer for at least 24 hours before you're going to use it. And it is a game changer for smoothies. I will never understand when somebody puts a non-frozen banana in a smoothie, because for me, it's like becomes like a slime smoothie.
Yes.
But frozen banana, and I'm not even a huge banana lover, but you put them frozen, it doesn't taste like a banana smoothie, but it gives the consistency of ice cream. And it's just always going to be my favorite base for a smoothie is a frozen banana.
Yeah.
So always have those.
I love that. Okay, so then two more, and then I
All
want
right.
a big bag of broccoli.
Oh, well, this is boring, but I will be roasting that bag of broccoli, like no question. Sometimes it's going to be all by itself. Sometimes I have a recipe called rainbow roast, which is almost like a non-recipe, but people are like, rainbow roast has changed my life, which is, it's in Reset Refresh also, but it's essentially just, it's potatoes, peppers, onions, broccoli, whole garlic with the skin still on them. And that just is one of my favorite ways to roast broccoli with all the other stuff. It just gets so good. And, the edges get crispy and slightly nutty. And it's just, and then you can eat it by itself. You can put it, with a pasta, it can be a side or, whatever. I just love a roasted broccoli.
I love it. Okay, and then we've heard a lot about beans. I have these incredible. I don't know if you've had these chickpeas
Oh,
in a brine. They're unbelievable.
I haven't had those, but I feel like I love chickpeas more today than I ever have. Something about it, my love for chickpeas grows and grows and grows. You can do so many things, whether that's, making hummus or making some sort of dip at home in your food processor. If you don't have a food processor, I highly recommend you get one. It is the tool I
Like
use
a good.
constantly. Yeah, you can get inexpensive. I have a mini one because, New York, we don't have a lot of space. So it's like $30 on Amazon, the mini food processor. But anyway, one of my favorite things to do with chickpeas is roast them with cabbage. So I'm really into this combo of doing roasted cabbage, onions, and chickpeas all on one sheet pan all together. I do olive oil, salt and za'atar, which is a Middle Eastern spice, which is kind of lemony. There's sesame seeds in it. It's a bit earthy and green, but with olive oil and salt, it's just kind of bright and delicious. Works so well with cabbage and chickpeas. And the onions, everything gets caramelized and the chickpeas get a little bit crispy. So I'll do that in the oven at 425 for about 30 minutes. And it's just so delicious.
Oh,
Love it.
I love it. Well,
Yeah.
you were even better at this game than I thought you were going to be.
I am relieved. I thought I was going to be like, I don't know.
Oh, we could have gone all night. It's just like ping pong, right? Oh my
It's
God.
just, I love vegetables. What can I say?
I know it's your passion is just coming
Yeah.
through. So I'm just hoping to ignite that passion in other people. And
Yes.
I'm so grateful that you took time out of your family time with your folks
Yes.
to stop by. Your background is beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
I wonder if there are fresh herbs back there. I'm guessing there are.
There are. Yeah. There's a whole garden over there with tomatoes and basil and cilantro and dill and beautiful flowers. And yeah, it's the best. My mom does a beautiful garden.
Oh my God, I love that. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Guys, you can find Katie at katiewebernyc.com. We coming from a non-veggie
Oh,
lover,
good.
this was really
Wait,
helpful.
I just want to say one thing really quickly is
Yeah.
that I don't eat a lot of meat. My recipes don't have meat or cheese in them. I always want to say and invite people to who are not vegan, vegetarian people to try my recipes and add whatever you need to add to them. If you feel like, oh, I really want to sprinkle a little Parmesan on this, or I really want to top this with some ground turkey or something like that, I think my recipes can be a nice base for that as well. So, and I also get a lot of people that are like, my husband is, not a non-veggie lover or a strong meat eater, but he loves your lentil stew or something like that. So I just want to say that even if you are a meat and cheese eater or, veggie phobic or anything, my recipes and even just on my Instagram where I share a lot of recipes can be a nice, place to find good veggies.
I totally agree because we use the recipes and we have teenage boys who eat a lot of meat. So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
at a lot of the times we're making, and they make a beautiful base, but I want to go back to the simplicity with which you are really helping people to make the vegetables easy
Yes.
and accessible.
Yeah.
But and as people are saying, they're already on your site and they're seeing that they are excited to try some stuff already. So
amazing.
well, get these books. I cannot wait to get your newest book. And
Yes.
yay, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was delightful.
Awesome. Have a beautiful night.
You too. Bye.